Okay, we're ready. It's 1 PM on May 6th, and we're calling to order the meeting of the Chesapeake Beach Ethics Commission. For the record, member Ingrid Lamb is on vacation, is not here. Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nobody from the public here, so we will skip public comments on agenda items. Status of proposed changes to the ethics ordinance as was reported.
Do we want to approve the minutes?
Approval of the minutes, yes. Has everyone read the minutes of the April 24th meeting? Any changes or comments?
No, they look fine.
For the record, the minutes are approved. Thank you. All right, status of proposed changes. Last we heard, the State Commission had approved our draft, and staff was working on kind of comments, which we haven't asked for, haven't gotten, I suppose. I assume the comments, anything from them would go directly to the mayor, because he was the one who sent the draft out. And we got, now, I should have checked it before I came over here. The mayor, when I informed him of the approval, said something about a schedule. Certainly not an urgent, somebody who would wait until sometime later. So that's the status. Discussion of pending request for an advisory opinion. At our last meeting, we had the impression that we had been asked for an advisory opinion by an official who had been offered some kind of employment and wanted to know whether he could accept it. And we got email correspondence with him in which I got the impression that was a hypothetical question. And he didn't appear last meeting, and he didn't appear today. So my inclination is to send him a note saying, we don't think, well, if you requested an advisory opinion, it's denied. If you didn't request, let's make that clear. I'm not real irritated. Okay?
I think a better way to phrase it might be that his request is deemed withdrawn to the extent he did make a request for an advisory opinion.
Okay, I'll try that. All right. Review financial disclosures and determine what further actions, if any, need to be taken. I'm going to read into the record parts of Section 4 of our Rules of Procedure. Duty of the Ethics Commission to review all financial disclosure forms required by the ordinance to be filed with it. All members of the commission must review each financial disclosure form for any disclosure that appears to have the potential to be or have the potential to appear to be a conflict of interest, and completeness of the submission, that is, name on every page, each section marked, including the word none written in any sections, its legibility, having an original signature, etc. In financial disclosure forms where there's no appearance of potential conflict of interest, any potential conflict of interest, missing information, or any other defect, the commission member signs as a reviewer. Approval of disclosure form shall be by a recorded vote of the commission. If all commissioners agree that the form is complete, then the form is deemed approved, and the filer shall be so notified. In case of identifying a potential conflict of interest in the review process, the disclosure identified will be brought to the attention of the full commission, who will review the financial disclosure form and come to a decision on whether or not further consideration is prudent. When further consideration is prudent, the filer is notified of the concern or deficiency as soon as possible. The filer must respond to the commission within 30 days, including providing any necessary supplemental information. Responses will be reviewed at the next meeting of the commission and accepted or referred for further action within the authority of the commission. So neither of us remembers signing any of the forms that we received last year. Should have been. It's not clear to me whether, it's ambiguous as to whether each form has to be signed by each member of the commission, or we could divvy them up and each check one-third, one-third, one-third for omissions. Other thing that I want to bring, try to diplomatically bring to our attention. Didn't finish doing this with all of them, but going through the elected officials, I started comparing this year's disclosure with the previous years. I found one in which there was employment noted last year's form, and that employment was not noted in this year's form. Could be that that employment ceased before January 2018. Could be it was just accidentally omitted. What I'd like to do is, I think the most proper thing would be for me to send an email to Sharon, asking her to send an email to that filer, and we'll find some diplomatic way of bringing it to his or her attention that just want to make absolutely clear this is an intentional omission that. None of us, there's there's two other problems, I think, facts we have. One is we just got the form from one of the members of the council. I certainly didn't review it before coming in today. It's not clear to me, I know Ms. Lamb sent us an email that she had reviewed everything she had at the time. That would obviously not have included the one that we just got today. And I think there were at least two or three that came in after Ingrid's email saying she'd reviewed everything that she had been given. Did somebody remind me why we originally scheduled this for the 9th, why we moved it till the 6th or 7th or whatever? Okay, sorry. All right.
He wanted to have a quorum.
So we'd have a quorum, just one person. And Sharon, there's still one or two employees missing?
We have two, both of them are
The
from.
one we approved of,
The out-of-town one.
yeah.
Out of the country, I mean. And then I have the chairman of the Planning and Zoning, Jeff Foltz. He hasn't submitted his yet, and I have.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Oh, I said Jeff Foltz, the chairman of the Planning and Zoning,
Yeah,
has not sent his in yet,
that's the only one that's inexplicably missing.
besides the one that's out of the country.
Yeah. Okay. But we can't, I don't think we can properly vote on the elected official who I have some question.
Let me ask you a question about that one. How does that fit into the protocol under the,
Which, the one we just got today, or?
no,
No.
the elected official.
Yeah.
Where you as a reviewer, had some question about it.
Yeah.
Under that, doesn't it come to the commission, for the commission to decide, what to do about that?
I don't, I hope not. I mean,
I don't know.
this is a democracy with, real elections, and scandal can, we want to avoid unnecessary scandal. So if I suppose if I were sure that the mistake, well, it should be immediately brought to everybody's attention, I would do that. At the moment, I think it'd be good to have a practice of giving the person the benefit of the doubt before naming names. Other than the waste of the time of all four of us, I guess we just postpone this until Ingrid gets back, and in the meantime, follow up on the one person the only person who failed to submit anything. We have one elected official who came in a day late. And let us, semi-formally look at this discrepancy and others. I'm going to now look through 3 or 4 more other elected officials that I want to just check, why is it that they were employed by somebody on the list 2 years ago and not this year? Because they got fired for incompetence or something. That's okay. Let's set a, where are we? Now, do we have a method for, well, yes, I can call meetings. So what I will do is circulate an email asking for people's availability in June. Well, it may not be easy, but
Yeah, June's gonna be difficult for me.
for everyone, yeah.
It'd be like towards the end of June.
Okay.
Look at that. I'll be in Ireland till the 26th. Well, we're actually going to North Carolina starting the first week of June.
Uh-huh.
And then we'll
Okay, well, that's what, hopefully Ingrid and I can both avoid being out of town until the last week of June.
So it'd be about the 28th of June.
Well, there also possibility would be the end of May. All right, so I'll do that, we'll, look at all our calendars. Live and learn.
Who would have known?
I've been postponing any discussion of amending the rules of procedure until we get the new ordinance. But this is another one where we may want to look at it. Remember, we drafted this before we did anything else. And I think it was excellent for, under those circumstances, but look at these carefully and see what would be efficient. Including the question of whether all 3 of us should be signing every single disclosure, or we can, have a vote at a meeting, or should have a vote at a meeting, saying Charlie Smith's disclosure appears complete. And, all right, one more, see, and it's one that I'm concerned about. It's complete in the sense of, that we've discussed several times, that on the face of it, it's complete. It's just,
That raises the question of what's the role of the commission?
yeah. Well,
Is
yeah.
it reviewing or is it investigating?
Both rules.
Yeah, and this only this doesn't really talk about my concern, that is, in the face of it complete, but an omission of a material fact.
I would say that's not a complete form. If it's,
Yeah, I mean, certainly, assuming it's an error, an honest error, the right thing to do is give the person the opportunity to correct it. Don't need to have on the record,
Right.
signed under oath and then correct, you know. But anyway, so let's look at this and really think through what would be the most efficient way to, and correct way to do this. And by the way, so going back to standard practice, you would not, talking to Fred, you would not have noticed that kind of discrepancy.
Now, I've
Because you
noticed,
haven't worked on it in this town for,
right, but I've noticed in other jurisdictions that I work in, potential discrepancies or potential omissions, particularly on the question about what's your sources of earned income. Many people don't fill that out, but every other commission that I work with says, hey, we're not gonna look behind, what the filer has submitted, is submitted under affirmation, a penalty of perjury.
Yeah.
And we accept at face value. And the same thing also if, with respect to ownership of property or rental of property, if somebody checks no for both, then the obvious, well,
Yeah.
we have had a situation where one council member is impecunious, doesn't have any money,
Impecunious, yeah.
and impecunious, and lives with a significant other. And
Sure.
she does not rent or buy. So, but there are other situations where you think that the official who is submitting either rents or buys. But, yeah, my other commissions have chosen, as a matter of policy, not to raise those questions, to accept at face value. I totally understand, where you're coming from.
yeah.
I don't know if there's right or wrong on that.
Well, so, but at least in this thing of you own or rent property, yeah, it is an unusual thing. It at least raises a question that ought to be answered. You check no on both forms, and it's not unreasonable to inquire, sure this is right.
I said, my other commissions have taken the position that it's not their responsibility to determine if the filing is correct, just is it, completely and properly filled out? Not the substance, but the form.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
But under our rules, we at least are supposed to look to see if a conflict of interest has been
Right,
disclosed.
and your rules are different.
Oh, they are, okay.
Yeah, no, I don't know that any of my other commissions have rules governing how, what type of process or scrutiny they're supposed to give to financial disclosure filing.
We don't say, like, if we're supposed to look at this and make some kind of determinations whether conflict of interest parts of our law have been violated. Should be also looking at whether the participation provisions of the law have been violated on its face. If somebody shows himself as being employed by somebody who has a major contract with the town, a $500,000 contract. But one thing was we don't do anything. Another is we actually go back to the minutes of the council meeting at which that contract was approved, and see if the person recused himself. I don't know if we want to go that far, but we ought to say that in writing, one way or the other, make clear whether we're supposed to do that kind of at least superficial examination.
And that seems to me that you're saying that the commission should go back and look at all the proceedings of the
Yeah.
mayor and council in the prior calendar year
Yeah.
and try and match up, see if there's anything that matches up.
Yeah.
I think that goes far beyond what was intended by financial disclosure requirements. But I'm not saying you
That's
can't do it.
So we need to debate that,
Yeah.
discuss that.
I think it's a very valid thing for the commission to at least consider and to talk about.
I mean, the only reason for disclosure is that somebody will do that.
And
Minimum, a political opponent. Or perhaps the town administrator. Somebody presumably, or the local newspaper. That's, otherwise, it's just, might as well- paper is completely worthless if it's not for the purpose of
It is.
disclosing possible violations of the law.
I think
Somebody
you're
should be doing that, and I'm not volunteering, but maybe we could have the commission's attorney could do that. Well.
No,
yeah.
I'm saying if the group, feels that's something appropriate, that you would like me to do, then, so request.
Think about this, and we'll I'll send a note to Ingrid with copies to everybody, saying that this has been brought up, and hope that in our next meeting we can discuss it. Comments by commissioners and other members of the public? We've talked about scheduling the next meeting. We will do that after circulating inquiry to all concerned.
Just so you know, I am available every day in the last weekends.
Great. All right, all in favor of adjournment indicate by saying aye. Aye. The noes, all in favor, all opposed, no, the ayes have it. Well, at least it was a quick meeting.
Yep.
Well, that means I do go back to my office.
Good for you, yeah, sorry about that.
But we had to take it out another half hour for you before you stayed.